Hi, welcome you back on the lecture series on talent management, and today I will be giving a lecture on HR accounting. So, what exactly is HR accounting? So, class, you must have read about accounting. What exactly is accounting? Accounting is uh, where we are taking into the cost of all the assets of the organization and trying to find out its value to the organization, right. So, in case of human resources also we do the same thing. Why? Reason being that just like all other resources, capital resources, like for example, we can have furniture in the company, we can have uh, can say the uh, raw material in the company, we can have money in the company, all these are resources. Just like that, even the people who are working in the company are also considered as the resources which help and play a very pivotal role in building the company. Therefore, they are termed as human resources. So, when we consider human resources as the assets of the company, obviously its valuation in terms of cost and benefit analysis becomes mandatory, and this is where HR accounting comes into picture. For the first time in the history of management, the term human resource accounting was given by Renesas Leckert in 1960. And since then it has become a practice in the organizations. Thus, according to Flamholz, human resource accounting is accounting for people as an organizational resource, which involves measuring the costs incurred by organizations in recruiting, selecting, hiring, training and developing the human assets, and also involves measuring the economic value of people to the organization. Now, the second part is the more important part than the first one, that is economic value of people to the organization, right. What does this economic value of people mean? That means that the people who are hired in the organization, they need to be paid some salary, right. Then company incurs cost in recruiting them, in training them, in developing them according to their needs and desires. So, how much are they are able to give value to the company, how much are they able to give benefit to the company. For example, suppose a company incurs say around 50,000 rupees, if we talk about hypothetically 50,000 rupees are incurred to conduct a small recruitment drive for lateral hiring of people or for the experienced hiring people, and later on the company happens to choose out of say 50 candidates 2 candidates on a salary band of say 1 lakh rupees per annum, that 1 lakh rupees per month, that is 12 lakh rupees an annum. Now, so that means how much company is spending on that person? 12 lakhs per annum becomes the salary, plus 50,000 rupees was the cost of recruitment, divided by 2, that is per person it comes to 25,000 rupees, plus many other expenses. So, in nutshell, if we have to calculate everything, say it comes somewhere around 12.5 LPA. So, 12.5 LPA if the company is spending on an individual, and suppose this person works for a year and then leaves, what is going to happen? Has he given any value to the company? Has he given any benefit to the company in terms of economics? So, that is what is called economic value of people. Because of a particular person, how much in monetary terms, how much company is able to attain the growth, right. So, this for this very purpose HR accounting is important. Moving further, why should companies need human resource accounting? I just told you one purpose which is very important. Apart from this, there are many others, like no information about human resources are employed in an organization. There is no information about people. What is their credentials? When did they join? When did they leave, or when till how much time a person is intending to leave, etc., etc. So, that information was lacking. Then expenses related to human organization are charged to current revenue instead of being treated as investment. This is where the real gap is. When we talk of simple accounting, we talk of profit and loss, we talk of the expenditures as well as the revenue in current terms. But when it is human resources, we cannot say that today a person has been hired and from tomorrow it will start giving the company multifold benefits in terms of money. No, it of course, if that person is nurtured in the company, if that person remains in the company for a longer duration of time, and then only its value, his worth would be beneficial for the company. So, that is why when we talk of human resources, we cannot value people in terms of current revenue, rather we have to take it as investment done today for the benefits to be accrued sometimes later. Then productivity and profitability of a firm largely depends on the contribution of human assets, right. Say, let us say take example of two firms working in the same industry, one on this level and another on this level. Now, why there is this big gap? This big gap is because of the capabilities of people in the organization who are running that company. So, obviously, physical assets may remain the same, technology used may remain the same, capital employed may also remain the same, but with the difference of people in the company, their difference of their capabilities in the company, that gap can be reflected. If the value of human resource is not duly reported in profit and loss account and balance sheet, the important act of management on human assets cannot be perceived, right. That is, unless until in the books of accounts, the value of human resources is not reported properly in terms of how much company is able to earn profit because of certain kind of people, because of certain number of people, how will the top management be able to understand what exactly is the net worth of their people, what type of people should they recruit. For example, say for example, there is a school. Now, this school may employ good capable teachers also with a lot of salary, with huge salaries, right, and at the same time they have the option of employing mediocre to less competent teachers satisfying on small salaries. So, fine, in the shorter run the second option can be beneficial for the company, but in the longer run obviously the school will not be able to grow to the heights it is actually desired, just because the people who are running that school, the human assets, the teachers who have been employed, they are not competent, right. So, unless until that profit and loss accounting for human assets is not performed, until unless the human resources are not considered as the investment by any company, firm or whatever organization, its actual worth cannot be perceived. and then expenses on recruitment, training, etc. are treated as expenses and written off against revenue under conventional accounting. Whereas, in real terms, all these expenses on acquiring human resources, that is, as we call it as talent acquisition, to be treated as investment and not expenses, since the benefits are accrued over a period of time. So, because of all these issues pertaining, human resource accounting became more and more beneficial, more and more required in the companies today. Based on which we can say the sole purpose of adopting the concept of HRA is that it provides cost value information about acquiring, developing, allocating and maintaining human resources, enabling management to monitor the use of human resources, finding depreciation or appreciation among human resources, for better human resource planning and for better decisions about people based on improved information system, right, among others. So, these are few of the major objectives or reasons behind adopting this concept of HRA. Now, how to value human resources, that is the most burning question today, right. Reason being, I have just been talking about valuation of human resources, how to value human resources. So, these are all the methods that you have already studied in accounting. The same method with the same concept now only has to be used in terms of human resources. Like for example, if we talk about the first one, say historical method. Historical method means the past the cost. Here in this case, in case of human resources, the cost of conducting the whole exercise, how much money was spent in conducting the entire recruitment drive, how much man hours were invested, how much capital was invested, how much the time was invested into conducting and hiring a particular person. All this cost has to be taken care of while finalizing the valuation of people. Similarly, replacement cost, that is again all these costs plus advertisement cost, every kind of cost is counted, and in case if the person is not happy, he happens to leave, then for replacing that person again the same thing has to be repeated, the same phenomena, the same activity has to be repeated. So, if the replacement cost is heavy, then it is better that that person is made to sustain in the company. So, likewise we have other methods also, as I just now said that the methods are same as we have studied in accounting class also. The only difference is that here these methods are adopted, used, keeping in mind only the human resources, that is that human element is added into the these calculation of the value of these assets. Moving further, this is an important aspect of human resource accounting. Few models have been propounded by different people, and these 5 more models are considered to be the most important ones. So, going one by one, let us start with the first one, that is Lev and Schwartz model. Now, Lev and Schwartz advocated the estimation of future earnings during the remaining service life of employee and then arriving at the present value by discounted the estimated earnings at the cost of capital. What does that mean? Basically, Lev and Schwartz said that how their way of calculating the value of people in the organization was that uh, starting from today till that person superannuates or leaves the company. They consider that the person would be given certain promotions, hikes in the salaries, and therefore their future earnings would increase. So, what they propounded was to estimate their future earnings during their remaining service life, how much that would be of an and then arriving at the present value by discounting the estimated earnings at the cost of capital. How much cost of capital would be utilized in making them reach over there. So, discounting that particular cost or lessening that particular cost, whatever is remaining, that becomes the value of that person. For example, today say a person joins as say HR executive in the company, right, and today say his age could be say 25 years. Now, given the time that the retirement age is say supposedly taken as 60 years, that means how much work life he is going to spend in the company, say around 35 years. So, it was understood that in these 35 years he would raise in his profile, he would rise in his profile, he would get certain promotions, and at the same time the salary would also increase. So, whatever that amount or whatever those promotions are due, and according to those promotions, what could be the maximum salary that he would be getting by the time he is retired. All that salary counted together minus or discounted the cost of capital incurred for him to reach over there. So, that is the value of that person, that is the you can say the cost of that individual in the company, right. Very realistic and scientific model, because of the only thing that it is based on some quantitative data, it is based on some facts, some figures, hence the calculations and analysis becomes far more easy. But what actually the Levin-Schwartz pair did not anticipate was that number one, that they considered that the person would only leave the organization at the time of superannuation or due to death. But then there are many ways, there are many purposes, many reasons of a person leaving the organization. Therefore, that calculation of future income becomes wrong if suppose a person happens to leave the company after say 5 years of service only because he got a very good opportunity elsewhere. So, obviously, his cost of his value for the organization whatever was calculated based on this model was not appropriate. So, that was the major lacuna, major gap which was identified. Anyways, then another model was given by Eric Flamholz. This model suggests a 5-stage approach for assessing the value of an individual to the organization. The first one being forecasting the period that he will remain in the organization, that is his expected service life. Now, this is where Eric Flamholz was better off, or he could anticipate this part that people have different reasons of leaving. Therefore, this was taken as the first stage, that before you calculate any individual's cost or value in the company, you should first understand or forecast for how much long time he is going to survive, he is going to remain in the company. Second stage, identifying the services states, that is the roles they might occupy, including of course the time at which he will leave the organization. and during the time he is going to sustain remain in the organization, what all roles do you think he is going to occupy, he is going to take? Say for example, keeping in mind that you have taken the company has taken a very bright talented candidate, but at the moment the salaries offered are not that good or lucrative, or because of certain reasons. Say right now as we are talking about this pandemic, because of pandemic people are not open to go to different places for jobs even if they are getting the offers. So, what is happening, even the most talented people who hail from Lucknow are looking for assignments in Lucknow, but this is not going to remain forever. So, today even the people who are here in Lucknow and they are taking some assignments maybe on a lesser cost also, lesser salary also, but the moment situation betters and they are offered a better salaries elsewhere, they will leave. Obviously, so cost of life is how much? Maybe 2 years, sorry, the service life is how much? Maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line till that vaccine comes. As I was reading today in the newspaper that the vaccine is expected to arrive in Indian market by February 2021, that leaves only few months, right. So, and in that time period, how many roles, how many promotions a person is expected to get? Hence, these are two stages to be taken care of, the very first two stages. Then the third stage is estimating the value derived by organization when a person occupies a particular position for a specified period. Then estimating the probability of occupying each possible mutually exclusive state at specified future times, and lastly discounting the value at a predetermined rate to get the present value of human resources. Of course, since we have considered the first and second stages the most important stages here in this model, the chances of that those gaps are lessened a lot. Next model we move about is called Morse model. Under this model, value of human resource is equivalent to the present value of the net benefits derived by enterprise from the service of its employees. Morse model does not talk about future income. Morse model does not talk about what positions the employee is going to acquire in the future. They talk of the present. In the present situation, what is the value of that asset, human asset, vis-a-vis the net benefits the company is getting by employing him. Say for example, a teacher has been appointed, he has a PhD degree, he has say around more than 10 years of experience in teaching. So, the moment he comes to a school, he joins the school, he would start teaching the classes, and he is he can take a good number of, because he is more than prepared a teacher. So, immediately he can be handed over even the higher sections also, and therefore, he can control good number of students also, and he can be available to even to the senior students also. So, there what is happening ki presently if the school has to say pay them 50,000 rupees a month salary also, then also it is worth it, because they are able to, that teacher is able to satisfy more than a larger group, a larger gamut of students, and address to their queries, address to their subjects, right. So, this is what actually the Morse model talked about. The value, then the following steps are involved: gross value of services to be rendered in the future by employees, value of direct and indirect future payments, and access of value of future human resources over the value of future payments. So, in nutshell we can say Morse model actually considered only the present value. Ogun's model, according to this approach, the certainty with which the net benefits in the future will accrue should also be taken into account while determining the value of human resources. So, this is the only difference between the Morse model and the Ogun's model. And then the Likkert's model, which is a non-monetary value based model, where human variables were divided into 3 categories: causal, intervening and end result variables. And Likert said that the interaction between the causal variables and intervening variables result into end result variables in the way of job satisfaction, cost, productivity, etc. Right. And then based on this, we can say, we can talk about the various benefits of human resource accounting, that is, discloses the value of human resources, improves managerial decision making. Implementation of human resource accountings identifies human resource as a valuable asset, not only an asset just like machine or material or money. It helps in efficient utilization of human resources and understanding the evil effects of labor unrest on quality of human resources. Then it also assesses the management for implementing best methods of wages and salary administration, right. Because once you know the value of people, once the company is able to identify the real value of a human asset in terms of its benefit that it is going to get today and as well as tomorrow. As we say, human resources are the investment, but they are not to be treated as expenditures. So, since we take them as investment, so its value today and in the future also. So, once the firm is able to derive upon that only, then they will be able to better devise upon the what exactly what salary, what wages should be given to the people, which satisfies them, which motivates them, and which continue with which the people remain committed to their organization, they remain sustained in the organization and they never leave the company. Because as we talk about talk in talent management is not only acquiring the right kind of talent, this also involves engaging that talent, motivating the talent and retaining the talent for the life of the organization. Then only the real benefit of that human resource can be identified, can be accrued upon. And when a firm is able to do that, then is the real that is the real benefit of human resource accounting. So, with this I would say thank you, and this completes this session.